What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Lumsden Motorsports Garage. I'm Wade Lumsden. Today we're going to continue on with the Tuff truck some more. So let's get to work. Alright, so recently we've been working on cage kind of stuff. We did the first two bars for the front hoop, and also last video we did I tacked in place the shock mounts here. I have not connected the lower shock mount yet. They're just kind of sitting there. I am going to take on the lower shock mount when I'm ready to put in my wedges, because I got some wedges here to put under the leaf springs to fix my pinion angle. So all of that's going to kind of happen in one fell swoop. But I also want to add a bar going across the top from shock mount to shock mount here, from here to over there, same spot. I'm either going to do that, or I'm going to go with some type of angle piece or something to give support over here, because all of the forces are going to be going up, which is going to be trying to move that way with the way that this is mounted in there. I have a feeling what it's going to end up being is a bar going across, and then probably something from the center out to the edges or something. I don't know. Something to stiffen up the center of that as well, so it can't bow, just to make that nice and strong. But that's for future stuff. Right now, what I really want to get going here is I know I'm kind of at a standstill with the front hoop because I'm waiting for the new coil lowers to show up, and I want to get everything placed right for the bar that's going to come out here and go over here, and then my shock mount's going to be off of that. So I want to make sure that I get that stuff placed in the correct area before I bend that and have something crazy wonky. Don't want to make it too short or way too long or whatever. And then I am going to put a crossbar here. I'm just not 100% sure where exactly I want to put it. I kind of want to wait and see where the piece that's coming from here connects over to here. If it connects like here, I might put my crossbar back here, so connection over to connection. We're gonna kind of wait and see. So I'm kind of on hold with doing bar stuff, but to be able to move forward with that, I got a couple things here. This, man, there's not a whole lot of great light. It's sitting in the shade. I'm not sitting in the shade though. But this big old long bolt, this is the stock bolt. There used to be like a cup deal here for the spring perch to sit on, and then that had a nut holding it down, and then the spring went up. What I really want to do is put my shock mount right where this is, and my goal is to drill a hole in a bottom plate that I'm going to create, to where this can go down and be bolted down and hold it. So the other little piece of that is that bolt's going to have to be shortened and flipped around, right, to where the head of the bolt's up top, up here, instead of down there. So what I'm going to work on right now is getting that stuff made, because the rear shocks, I kind of did a lot of measuring to figure out where my full travel and stuff is, but for the front shocks, I definitely want to create my upper mounts and stuff up here when this is at full bump, right? And when this is at full bump with its proper shock mounts already done. So really we're going to do the front suspension from the bottom up. That way, you know, we're not bottoming out the shock where it shouldn't be bottomed out at. The rear, I kind of got away with going from the top down for a couple reasons, and I'll show you this. This is a 16-inch travel shock. Okay, I got a really smoking deal, bought it used, sent it off to get rebuilt. So 16-inch travel shock for what did we calculate? Like, I'm gonna get a maximum 9 inches I think of actual travel from full droop to when the leaf spring is completely flat. Granted, it'll be able to come up a little bit more, but it's not a whole lot. Okay, so a 16-inch travel shock for really what I needed was like 10 inches or something like that. So basically I was able to take the measurements from the travel, figure out where those were, and then figure out where the bottom here could possibly be for everything to be bottomed out. And as you can see, that's like way up into where the frame is at right here. So I did that mostly with measurements. Really the proper way to do it is to, again, put this thing at full compression, mount your bottom shock, and then build your upper shock to where full compression is, and leave yourself a little bit of space on your shock. It's really what you should do. But in the end, because I had a ridiculously long travel shock for my application, I was like, well, I know if I put it above this point, I'm gonna have still plenty of down and plenty of up. So that's kind of how this all happened the way that it happened. The front, on the other hand, we have a 14-inch travel shock coming, and I believe out at the wheel we can get 16 inches of travel. So we're going to use probably every bit of it, and have to use the limiting straps. So this will be kind of exciting. So yeah, the goal right now, like I said, is to build bottom mounts, get this flipped over, make it to where I am ready to rock and roll once those show up. And I might also do some other stuff while I have all this apart. If I decide to do those things right away while I'm digging in here, I'll bring it up when I do it. If not, it's going to be stuff that we do on a later video. So because there's still plenty of other things to do. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting stuff torn apart and getting to work here. All right, guys, so I got my 1.125" wrenches out, wrench and impact out. This is gonna be super long-winded. Look at that, that's like 4 inches of bolt sticking out. So make sure you got an impact. I am gonna run into a problem later, and I'm pretty sure of it. Once the shock mount is in place, all I have is a short 1.125" socket right now. So I'm probably gonna have to go get myself a nice deep one to make life nicer for me later. That is so I can get either an impact down on it on this side, or even coming up from the other side where the bolt and stuff is possibly gonna come through. So I'm not saying that you have to have it, but it's probably going to be nice to have a deep socket. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this torn apart and see where we go from there. Bit of an update. That's where I'm at. So the bolt actually slides up and down inside there really nice. This nut's having a heck of a time coming off. I've now reached the end of the bolt where it used to stick out. I actually had soaked these in penetrating oil before I even started this video. I highly suggest, if you're taking this apart, that you do the same. And make sure you're using some good stuff. not just WD-40, right? Like some PB Blaster, or there's some other good stuff out there. So make sure you do that. At first my impact was struggling to get it to come off. I had to use the old put the wrench on and then hit this end. Oh, I'm trying to hit that end right there with a hammer, the old manual impact. So gonna be tough to get it apart, but we'll get it there. Just wanted to, I don't know, tech tip, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, give you a heads up in case you're ever gonna do this yourself. So all right guys, so kind of starting to get this thing laid out here. I'm going to show you a couple things to think about. I know the lighting kind of stinks here. I'm using the race car as a as a bench. So actually, yeah, let me get you set up on the tripod real quick. All right guys, so basically been working on making this lower shock mount for the Tuff truck here. I guess I'll start off with, so I bought a plethora of brackets. You can see I got a bunch. Here's like a ginormous one. Here's the ones I'm thinking I'm going to use. Size difference there. Bought some with 1.5 inch radiuses on them, you know. I bought a plethora of choices to choose from when doing this. I don't have like a bandsaw or anything, which would make cutting brackets like this super easy. I'm getting a weird glare off of stuff behind you. It would make this super easy, right? And I don't have a laser cutter, so I just ordered these. Some of these I ordered off of Rough Stuff, some I got off of Summit, some, you know, I just went online and found a handful. I even found these cool ones here. Put your pipe in here and it's already got bolt holes in it and stuff. And you know, sometimes when you don't have the tools to make a job fast, you're better off just spending the money and buying them. Plus I was looking for stuff that was 1/4 inch thick. I kept finding lots of 3/16, lots of 1/8 inch. I was really looking for 1/4 inch thick, and that's where I found these. These are Rough Stuff. They got a part number on them. I don't know if you can see it there. R1134, I think. Anyways, things to look at here, and this is why I ordered like super tall ones and things like that. The head of the shock is actually quite large. I'll show you here. Where the heims go, right? So where the heims go, this area is pretty big. You know, it's nothing like my little race car shocks. I think I got yeah, I can show you. Right, like that's a huge size difference in comparison to a race car shock for like the modified. So number one thing I wanted to make sure I had was clearance. And if I was just welding this directly down onto the arm, I would have plenty of clearance, right? You know, you line this up a little bit and you can kind of see that I was gonna have plenty of clearance, right? But as you can see, there's a little line drawn in there. I kind of set this on there and drew a radius on the inside, just to see where the shock would be placement wise in here, because, you know, mount, this would be the head of the shock right about here, right? So the main reason why I was looking at that is because, like I said, I wanted to bolt this on using the ginormously long 3/4 inch bolt in here. And if I do that, that means, you know, putting the bolt in there, it means I need to have space for the head of the bolt too, right? So really what I was trying to figure out, and you can see the line in there, what I was trying to figure out is if I had a long enough bracket to be able to shove the head of this bolt underneath there with it. And the answer is yes. Yes, I do. I'm glad I bought these brackets, because the shorter ones that I got from Summit, like what I'm using on the back, I wouldn't have. I just checked them out, and they would have been right on top of each other. So make sure you're thinking about, if you're doing stuff like this, you're thinking about clearance and things like that. Now, next little bit, I put myself in a bit of a pickle here. You can see that I got the 2 spacer deals here that go on the end of the shock, so you can have action on the shock. I have those. They usually have a little bit of a gap between them, and that's what one washer's for, is to make up for the fact that there was no gap in between them. And then I have another washer there. I like to try to, when we go to weld brackets and stuff together, I like to take whatever the true distance is and add like 30 thousandths, because while you're welding, those things will shrink up, and it'll make it kind of tough to get the shock to slide in and out of there. Man, there's the squirrel again. I am so ADD about this squirrel. I can't really zoom in, but he's chilling down there by the mailbox right there. Anyways, squirrel. He's been hanging out here a lot lately. What were we talking about? Shocks. Yeah, shock mounts. Yeah, okay. So something that kind of stinks though. Here's my 1 1/8" socket, okay? And originally when I was doing this, I wanted to make sure that my socket would fit in there, and it does not, as you can see. That's partially because I am using 1 1/4" width standoffs instead of 1 1/2". If I'd have had 1 1/2", this thing would have just slid in there just barely, beautifully, but that is not the case. So here's my first plate that I cut out. Okay, quick overrun how I cut this out. I set this little setup up, set it on top here, made sure that I had the edges of the outsides sticking out so I can get a good weld in there, right? And then, you know, if you don't have a vise or any way to actually hold on to a small piece of material like this, measure it out, drill your hole, and then cut it apart. But I was able to, I don't have a vise, but I was able to clamp mine to the bench, and I used a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drill bits to get to a size to where I could use my step bit, the one that, as you know, just gradually gets larger and larger and larger up to the 3/4 inch. This is a 3/4 inch hole, and drilled through that. So that's my first one. So this is what got me here. So this is basically what the inside of the mount's gonna look like, right? If I can't get a socket in there and I can't get a wrench in there to hold on to this, to tighten everything, I'm not going to be a happy camper, right? So, and this even twists, like you can see that it has clearance to twist, and that's what those black lines are. I shoved the bracket on there to see, oh, okay, is the bracket going to be able to hold it? Answer to that question is no. It will not be able to hold it. So I'm gonna think about this here. And I think what I'm gonna end up doing is, when I weld the bracket together, I have those lines. I think I'm going to just build up some weld, or I'll find some material or something of that nature, and get it shoved down next to the bolt. That way the bolt has basically a slot to slide into, and when I go to tighten it, it can't twist inside the bracket. And then I can just hold on to the welded up bracket with like a crescent wrench or something like that, like I'm holding on to the head of the bolt, and be able to get it tight. So hindsight's 2020. I should have gotten the 1.5 standoff deals, but to be honest, I wasn't thinking about those. I had the option when I got my shocks with FOA to get 1.5 or 1.25 inch, and I just got the 1.25 inch. I should have gotten the 1.5 inch. So shot myself in the foot there because I didn't really know. But that's okay. We will overcome and adapt. So so all right, got my basic first bracket set up here. The other thing is I just used a piece of I believe it's 2-inch flat strap. Let me measure. Yeah, 2-inch flat strap to make this piece. Just cut it. And what's kind of nice about this is if I put all this bracket all to one side, I have a little bit of a lip there. Boom. So I'm going to be able to put a little piece of plate here, or another piece of flat strap. Probably use some more little pieces of flat strap. Again, use what you got, right? And make some kind of plate to just strengthen it up a little bit. So that's the goal. That's what's going on. Try to plan for those things. Try to plan for them better than I did. So all right, I got another one of those little brackets to make, so I'm gonna get back to work. All right, so just a little bit of backtracking here. I got my piece cut. Again, cut it to where it's gonna have edges, not where it's gonna sit flush like that, right? You don't necessarily want it flush. You want it to have that little bit of overlap so that you have a nice, you know, if I was to make it extreme zoomed in look, boom, so you have a nice kind of corner to fill if this was like extremely zoomed in, right? But you want a nice little like corner to fill. That's why you don't exactly plate the bottom all the way. You give yourself a little bit of a, yeah. Anyways, so now that I have that, I'm just gonna take my speed square that I got here, and put in a little bit of an X. Corner to corner so I can find center. Boom. So now that I have my X center, like I said earlier, I use like 5 different drill bits. Start really small, punch a hole in the center, get a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, until you have your ginormous 3/4 inch hole. Yeah, so that's going to be the process for doing this. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just using a hand drill, and I am clamping. Actually, I might want to show you this. So like I said, I don't have a whole lot of really cool fancy schmancy tools, so I just do with what I can. You can like clamp this down to a block of wood. You can do whatever you want. This is what I'm doing. I've got it clamped to the edge of the bench. I've got it to where it's not going to drill into my bench. And then you can see there's another just clamp on the bench. It's not actually holding this, but on the bench, because I need that clearance for my drill and my drill bits and stuff. But clamped on the side that this would twist to if it grabs and catches real quick. So it's kind of, this is holding it from twisting, this is clamping it down, keeping it from going anywhere. Kind of simple, maybe not the best solution, but it's what I'm doing. And then I'll mention this as well. Use good cutting oil, dark thread cutting oil. You can get that at Home Depot. It's cheap for a bottle. But like an actual cutting oil would be extremely beneficial to you and your drill bits, so you're not burning them up super quick, right? So other guys use, I mean, something's better than nothing, but you know, you can use your PV blaster and stuff like that as a cutting oil. But if you use an actual cutting oil, hydraulic oil works decent too. Stuff like that, just something to keep your stuff lubricated. And then this is the step bit I was talking about earlier. Mine happens to be a 3/4 on the end, so I was like, woo, I don't have to go buy a drill bit. But these are some of the drill bits I'm using to do my step up. So like I said, I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regular drill bits, and then finishing it off with I'm getting it up to a 1/2 inch, and then I'm finishing it off with the step bit to get to my 3/4 inch. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and get that the second one drilled out. All right, so now that I have my bracket, just needs to be welded solid. The other thing I needed to worry about was my bolt. It was obviously way too long, so I'm gonna cut the bolt down. Let me show you here. I went ahead and used the bolt that I had and just chopped it down instead of going to get another piece of hardware when I had a nice, good, strong bolt here. You can see how much I chopped off right there. So I measured what I needed, was 5 inches, so I didn't forget to include the thickness of the plate, and made sure that I had plenty on the far end for the nut to go on and lock, and we're good to go there. Notice how I put the nut on first and then chopped it. That way when I pull this off, it'll actually straighten up any threads over there. But before I do that, I went and I've had this kind of nifty little tool around here. This chucks up in a drill. You put it on the end of your bolt, and it's kind of like a bevel, so you end up beveling the edge there a little bit, and it cleans up the outside of the thread real nice. And then I'll take the nut off and then make sure that it goes on and off just fine. But between cleaning the end up with this and taking the nut off, should be good to go. If you don't have one of these, you can use a grinder. Just be nice and, you know, clean about it. Don't get all crazy wonky. Just try to be nice and even when you grind around the edge, and then take the nut off, and then you'll notice that it's nice and clean to get on and off. If you don't put a nut on there to screw off when you cut, it could be a nightmare for you to get one started on there. So keep that in mind. But now I got that. And my brother's going to be coming into town tonight, so I think what I'm going to do is it's the end of the weekend here for me, so I got to get my ginormous mess. I'll give you a look into the life of what's going on here. My ginormous mess, especially top of the car, all that happy stuff cleaned up. I can't just leave everything all strewn about all crazy. So I'm gonna work on getting some stuff cleaned up. I got lots of stuff for my brother to weld when he gets here, which I'll actually be in a couple hours or so. So plenty of time for me to clean. So we'll get back at you. All right, guys, brother's here, throwing down a couple tacks, or actually a couple good welds on those brackets, and he's gonna come down here and do at least the pipe piece for me. He's in a hurry, kind of running behind. He's got to go to work. Poor guy working graveyards. Ugh, I hate that. Anyways, so that's pretty much what we got done. Don't forget, if you like what we're doing here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit us up at the Lumsden Motorsports Facebook page, especially if you want a t-shirt. All that stuff really helps the channel out. Share, you know, all that happy stuff. So we got a lot more stuff to do, and a short time to do it all in. So you You moving down to the other end?
Yeah.
All right.
Those two.
I gotta help him move all that stuff down there. Like, subscribe. We'll talk to you guys next time.